What is going on, everybody? It is episode 486 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I am here with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. We are back from the weekend. How was yours, Brett?
Mine was good. Other than I kind of got a taste of what you have to do every day, which is a lot of driving all weekend. I was in my car most of the time. Which because it's not work, I tend to like it. I like driving, but that's obviously very different than when you have to do it at a specific early time to go someplace specifically. But yeah, I was busy all weekend, but it was the weather was amazing here over the weekend.
It was. I went to Hell's Kitchen.
How
I
was
met
it?
Gordon Ramsay.
Did you actually meet him?
No,
it wasn't there,
I
right?
felt his aura in the room, and that was fun.
They should have a thing where like a speaker that plays in the back room where it sounds like he's yelling at someone in the back room.
I don't know why they still make the kitchen dress up in two different colors. Like they're still in team uniforms.
Yeah.
We know that they're not on the show.
Well, it's part of the ambiance, right? What did you order?
Scallops, risotto, beef Wellington. You got to get the beef Wellington.
Okay. I have no idea what the hell that is.
I don't either.
But
it tasted good.
And you were in a fake city.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell everybody about your fake city
Are we going to get into that?
We should get into it.
You know
should
what?
Tell people about your fake city story.
I don't want to give haters attention, but like this guy is just confused and I felt bad for him. So I posted some pictures from when I was wandering around DC and I captioned it, "Wandering around a fake city," because whenever I go to DC, it does feel like a fake astroturfed city where you could be walking around and not see a single soul, even though supposedly all of these people live and work here. It's weird. Do you feel that?
I feel that when I go to airports at night.
Okay, it's sort of like that, but if it were a city.
And the thing is I love the ambiance of the airport. Like if you have to go catch a red eye,
sure.
All the stores are closed. I read this amazing article that it was so annoying that it actually impressed me about how this guy talking about how walking through the airport at night like a ghost speaks to the failures of capitalism.
What?
And yeah, I maybe I can find that article again someday. And I just remember reading it.
What does that even mean?
It's talking about, all the stores, they're closed, and all the businesses, commerce, all these things. And it was just long letter that just looked like it belonged on Tumblr 10 years ago. But yeah, I mean, I feel the same way when I go through airports. So it feels fake to you.
But the issue in DC is that sometimes there's a raving homeless person who might hurt you. So that's the rare soul that you will come across walking around DC at night. But I always thought it was just unsettling that like no one seems to be around here and the only people that live here are rich people and homeless people.
Well, yeah, because everybody else has to live outside the city and then commute in for work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what I captioned it. I did not express the entire polemic in the caption because no one is interested in that. But then someone commented, "Oh, like your fake religion?" And what ensued was a whole comment thread of people debating about religion
on your page.
On a picture of me. The guy was convinced that I was saying Washington, D.C. does not exist.
This is what I mean.
That's what he thought. He genuinely, in his heart of hearts, thought that I was claiming DC is not a real city. It doesn't exist, despite the fact that that photo of me was in the city.
Yeah. This is why I tell you that the internet was a mistake, that all he needed was a little bit of context for what you actually meant. But the problem is, actual context doesn't make for a pithy headline, for like a great headline quote.
Needing context for that itself is something I don't understand.
Yeah.
And then like people were saying, I think she just meant it as a figure of speech. I don't think she was saying that like literally. And he was like, no, you're just being a simp. You're cutting her too much slack. She obviously meant that she thinks DC is fake, like the moon landing. And I'll go there. Like, that's fine.
Perfect.
I'll say that the moon landing was fake just to piss you off.
Perfect. It makes perfect sense to me. That those are always the most interesting threads when you post something and then somebody people start arguing without you involved in your comment section, and you have to
It's kind of entertaining.
And then you have to do what am I going to do? Do I step in and then figuratively?
Do I have to be the hall monitor? Of my comment section
of your own page, right? Yeah. Guys, we got a bunch of stuff to get into today. The media seems to have finally admitted, after that Variety article last week saying that Marvel is in crisis, all the article headlines I saw now today for the Marvels are saying that they seem to have accepted that this movie is going to flop. So
the jig is up.
Yep, the jig is up. So we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about brand new allegations that have been levied against Russell Brand, another SA claim, as they say, have shown up related to an appearance, a starring role he had in a movie in 2011 called Arthur. So we're going to get into that. We're also going to talk about the Disney rumors be wild. So that's basically over the last week. These came out last week, and I neglected to cover them for a variety of reasons, but now it's kind of fun when we pair them together with this other thing that you found. Basically, there's this rumor going around that Zendaya could be cast as Moana, and that Michael B. Jordan could be cast as, obviously, Hercules. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, and then it's paired with this Reddit thread that Mary sent me that gave me cancer just reading it. It's
on Am I the A-hole? Am I the a-hole for not correcting my daughter when she says she is just like Mulan because she is white? So that's where Disney race swaps have gotten us.
It's going to be great. So we're going to talk about that. And then we're also going to talk about pop star and former Disney star Sabrina Carpenter, who has a new music video out for a song called Feather, which has upset the Catholic Church due to its portrayal of sacrilegious things going on inside the church. So we're going to get into that. We're going to get into a bunch of other stuff. Before we get started, guys, would you hit the like button on this video? Please subscribe to this channel if you have not done so already. We're on our way to 75,000 subscribers, guys. So thank you very much for that. Turn the notification bell on so that you can be notified anytime a new episode goes live or a new segment goes up. And remember, please share these videos with your friends. And remember, all super chats, $20 and over. We will interrupt the discussion. We will read them right then and there, and that will contribute heavily to a crisis party sound effect that you, of course, makes me very, very happy. So go ahead and do that if you feel like you have a question for us or a comment or a concern. Perhaps they have thoughts on fake cities like Washington, D.C.
Who agrees with me?
Exactly. There you go. I did put a poll up, ladies and gentlemen, because it was daylight savings time. You had to fall back an hour the other night, and I was actually telling Mary off the air that I was on the phone when it happened, and I was like, has it been 1:15 for 2 hours, and then realized that it was daylight savings. So go ahead and answer the poll. I said, is daylight savings BS? And right now, 74% of the vote say yes, daylight savings time is in fact stupid.
Why did it even become a thing?
It has something to do with farmers and crops. I heard an explanation the other day. I'm not smart enough to be able to explain it to you, but it had something to do with that. But
Okay.
I'm sure somebody in the chat can write us a very long-winded explanation as to where daylight savings time came from. So if you're ready, Mary, we will go ahead and just get started. Are you ready?
I am ready.
She's ready. It's Monday. Let's go ahead and get started, guys. All right. First things first. Here's some interesting news. Amazon Prime is set to stream Sound of Freedom on December 26th. That is after its $242 million run at the box office. You can actually rent it or buy it, pay VOD on Amazon Prime right now, but you'll be able to stream it on December 26th.
God's children are not for sale, and they are not for rent either.
Technically, they are. They're literally for sale on Amazon Prime.
Oops.
God's children are definitely for sale for $3.99 for rental and $14.99 for purchase right now. That's not good. But December 26th is weird. I figured they would make it like a Christmas release.
Yeah, so all the families gathering together can watch a heartwarming movie about
so
trafficking.
depressing. That's so depressing.
They weren't going to ruin everyone's holiday.
Yeah. It just sounds like something awful. It's like, oh, I watched this great movie.
You get the hearth going and you watch this?
That's something that me in my mentally slow brain would do, where it's like I'm not reading the room. Like it's like, oh, I got
Guys, there's this great movie that I watched
just
recently.
because I loved it doesn't mean that it's the right movie for this environment.
No.
Like you see the creepy scene where the guys like corner the kid in the room, and they're like, why are we like put on Miracle on 34th Street, will you?
Put on Hallmark.
Seriously, anything. But yeah, it's coming out on Amazon Prime. It did very, very well at the box office, so we'll have to see how it does on streaming.
right.
I'm hoping that it does well. Something that has not did not do well at the box office this past weekend was Five Nights at Freddy's, which, although finishing number 1 at the box office, took a massive 76% hit to its box office run. It pulled in $19.4 million. Of course, it made 80 plus last time. Now it's
Like,
still,
is this supposed to be some kind of own?
I mean, it's still,
I can tell that the suits at Variety don't like video game movies.
Yeah, they probably think.
And
they're
we're going to
above
get
it.
into that later with our discussion of the Marvels. And
Yeah.
they're like, oh, look at what Marvel's going to be replaced by. Video game movies. Phew, phew. Like, it's just, I mean, if it's goodwill with the audience, fine. Like, go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
I didn't care for the movie in particular, but the idea is, there's nothing wrong with the idea.
I do believe that the reason for such a large drop is the fact that it was a streaming day and date release. So that, I mean, it was such a heavily
Sure.
streamed movie on Peacock. Theoretically, at least a quarter or some amount, some small percentage, however big or small, of the people that watched it on streaming might have then gone to the theater later if they had not gotten the opportunity to watch it the way they did. But also, somebody pointed out to me on Twitter that like it also was just, it was very much like a scary movie that came out at the perfect time on Halloween, which would have helped its box office, on top of the fact that it had very little competition at the box office that weekend. But still, 200 million, it's made over $200 million now on a $20 million budget. This movie's going to get
Nothing to scoff at.
no, this movie's going to get a sequel, so should be interesting. And I honestly hope that it got Peacock a few more subscribers, because
They must have had a sweet deal to agree to that, right?
yeah,
That makes up for the fact that they got this drop.
well, yeah, they said that they made their money back on the budget just on the streaming and theater
Yeah.
rights. So yeah,
They're good.
they did good out of that. So and another movie that is potentially not going to do good at the box office, ladies and gentlemen, is Wonka, starring Timothee Chalamet, which they are now it's these are early predictions. Like they're actually, they say they're usually loath to predict this far out, but $20 to $23 million.
So this is a musical. Timothy is going to
yes.
be singing and dancing and
And
frolicking
giving people
about.
chlamydia, yes.
And giving people chlamydia. You can't just throw that out there.
I totally can.
Okay, all right, fine. We'll talk about it. Let me tell you one thing about Timothee Chalamet. You do not want to win his golden ticket. I'm so surprised that I had never heard about this rumor before, but apparently it's been around for years and years. This
It's
nasty
the stuff of
rumor
legends at NYU.
Timothy Chalamet gave like half the student body of NYU chlamydia. And his PR team has just been working overtime since like 2018 trying to hide this rumor. This says that he went to Columbia University, dropped out, and then went to NYU in 2015 to 2016. But during his time at NYU, the buzz on campus was not about his acting skills. An unsavory rumor about Chalamet starting a chlamydia outbreak had some students wondering if they should make a beeline to the health center. Yikes,
Well,
right? He's getting around.
You know what they should have done? Remember when in the heart of evil COVID time, when they were like, you could like set up an app on your phone to like see if you were standing by people with COVID. Like if somebody who had
They should introduce that for STDs at any liberal arts college.
It will be it'll be the chlamydia tracker, the Chalamet chlamydia tracker, and it allows you to see if you're in the near vicinity of somebody who went to the campus health office. We need
contact tracing at NYU.
Like, look, these kids would be more than happy to forfeit their HIPAA rights in the name of public safety. They proved that during COVID. They were like, look, I will give up my rights in the name of helping the public. And I think if they want to actually stick by their word, they should give up their right to privacy and just put in their phone, I have, yes, I so-and-so at NYU have chlamydia, and I'm letting everyone know so that you can be safe.
Look, the phonetics of Chalamet and chlamydia are also an unfortunate coincidence. So some fact checkers trace this back to a Wattpad story.
We got a $20 one here from the I can't even read
what is
the
this?
legendary Swamp Fox says first super chat ever going to the folks at PCC. CCP backwards. Y'all are great at entertaining me throughout the week, almost as great as Timothy is at spreading chlamydia. Chlamydia?
Chlamydia.
Also, I want to point out that in the chat, they're making the same mistake I was. They were referencing the clap. The clap is gonorrhea.
Yeah.
We had to look it up.
Which is surprising.
Mary asked me, I'm like, no, Mary, I'm not a walking encyclopedia on STDs, believe it or not. So I had to.
We'll have to wait until the crisis party wager for your body count to find out. But some fact checkers trace this back to a fan fiction that was posted on Wattpad. Others point back to a 2018 tweet saying, mutual friend of mine got chlamydia from Timothee Chalamet, pass it on. And of course, all of his deranged fans were like, hey, sign me up. Sharing is caring.
We've got this video here from Juliana. Her account name is Dog Puke on Twitter.
Great.
Or I'm sorry, on TikTok. Here we go.
Let's just get one thing straight. I don't give a single fuck if Timothee Chalamet has or had chlamydia. We could
Does he have an eyebrow plucker?
share it. We could pass it back and forth. We could make a date night out of going to the clinic. I don't know, maybe hold hands while we're picking up our antibiotics.
Okay. Yikes. The absolute state of Gen Z women on display here.
There's the other ones have been the really, really funny like skit videos of the girl who's like, and they end up on all of like the red pill Instagram channels where she's like, I love going to a college party, and then proceeds to tell an entire story about basically getting passed around by everyone at and like they're too ridiculous not to be fake, right?
Yeah, I would hope so.
But
But I don't know. Like, I didn't have a normal college experience.
She says pass it on, you know. It's and
They
just
say sharing is caring.
Something great to show at your wedding one day when you get married to somebody who's not Timothee Chalamet. That'll be be fantastic.
Yikes.
Maybe that will be her wedding gift to her husband. Is a trip to a regular doctor rather than a school doctor.
A Timothee Chalamet fan account tweeted, I am braver than the Marines because I would let Timothee Chalamet give me chlamydia 3 times. Another one said, does anyone else want Timothee Chalamet's chlamydia? I mean, it can't only be me. Look at that man. Excuse me? There were also rumors that Timothee Chalamet is into bestiality because...
What?
Wait for it.
What?
This tweet says, the whole Timothee Chalamet spread chlamydia at NYU thing is crazy because it actually happened. He effed like a rabbit. Too many people I know can attest to knowing someone who knows someone that got chlamydia from Oscar-nominated actor Timothee Chalamet, and that sends me. So some people misread that tweet and thought that it said Timothee Chalamet effed a rabbit, which didn't happen.
So it's like the 69 degrees of Timothee Chalamet.
It's a game of telephone gone wrong.
Okay, that's,
clearly.
Well, all right
But
then.
Shout out to Timothee Chalamet's PR team for quieting down this rumor that's clearly not substantiated with any evidence.
And then like next week it comes out he's got a Pfizer deal for some like chlamydia medication.
I'm really proud of myself for the golden ticket joke.
that was good. That was good.
It's just a referral to a doctor. It's just a prescription to antibiotics.
So just if you do,
be careful out there.
If you do if you have or are planning to have sex with a woman you know has also had sex with Timothee Chalamet.
Don't share a toilet seat with Timothee Chalamet.
That was that's I remember they did an episode of House. Somebody in the chat mark it off the bingo card where it's like this girl like gives her husband chlamydia and then basically has to she's like, couldn't you get it from, I don't know, sitting on a toilet seat?
Love spreading medical disinformation.
And he goes, yes, theoretically there'd have to be a penis between you and the toilet seat. But yes, you could pass it that way. And name that band.
Ooh.
Name that band. I saw some brutal ones there. If you're listening rather than watching right now,
this is
it's a
Pete
picture
Buttigieg with his husband Chasten and Dylan Mulvaney all together in a picture, just broing out.
What's the where does the name Chasten come from? Does anybody know? That's an interesting name.
I don't know, but it's spelled the same as Chasen.
Okay.
Ironically. Name this band. Name the iconic three-piece.
Well, I mean, if Chasten ever decided to go the Dylan Mulvaney route, he could be Chastity.
There aren't many three-piece boy bands, are there? They're mostly 4 and 5.
Well, 98 Degrees was 3 members.
Okay.
LFO was 3 members.
All the BTS type like K-pop groups have like
5.
7 people in them, or like 12.
What other bands had 3 members? Boy bands had 3 members. Those are the 2 that came to mind off the top of my head. But I'm sure there's others as well.
I can't read the one that I just read.
I like Phil's Western Excess. It's good. Yeah, there's some very rude ones down there that I read this morning. Even
The
before
Pooh Fighters. Yeah. The Pooh Fighters. Yes.
Yep.
Very, very mature.
Yeah. Oh, somebody says Rush is 3.
Oh no, someone said Train.
Perfect.
Yikes.
All right. Well, that's Hanson.
Hootie.
Hanson. Mbop. Perfect.
I can't read like half of these.
NSYNC was not 3 members.
2.5 Men.
Yeah.
Yikes.
2.5 Men.
Sausage Party.
2.5 Men.
Monkeypox. We're gonna get censored.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop
we'll
right
hold
now.
off there. All right, let's go ahead and move on, ladies and gentlemen. I want to talk about this story really quick. This is very interesting. So I don't know if anybody here, Mary, do you still watch late night television? Did you
I
ever
never
watch
did in the first
late night
place.
television?
I'm like 12.
Even me, who's from my generation, didn't ever care to watch late night. I would sometimes watch Dave Letterman when he did the top 10 lists, sometimes. But now,
if you're talking like the golden age of late night hosts, James Corden was never up there with the greats. He was never that. But now he's getting replaced with someone even worse.
Yes, right now James Corden is going to be replaced by a woman named Taylor Tomlinson, who I asked the question that everybody asked, the deep philosophical question: who the hell is Taylor Tomlinson?
Also, James Corden is British. Shouldn't they find a British person to replace him?
Well, what it says Taylor Tomlinson, who will be the first female comedian to host a major network late night show, is set to begin her tenure on CBS's After Midnight in early 2024. In an interview with Variety, George Cheeks, yes, that is his real name.
These people are such clowns.
Discussed the choice to hire the 30-year-old Tomlinson, who is a relatively unknown name to general audiences.
It says
one of the reasons
Cheeks was intent on bringing someone to the mix who wasn't another white male comic.
Got to do that.
One of the opportunities we see with the 12:30 spot is a chance to widen the aperture when it comes to format, when it comes to talent, making sure we have diversity both behind and in front of the camera. And they also seem to think that Taylor Tomlinson is established with a fan base of Zoomers and millennials.
Yeah.
I don't believe for a second that this woman has a fan base of Zoomers.
Yes.
Millennials, I'll believe that. She's a millennial herself.
There's another problem with that. Neither of those generations watch TV.
Play these clips.
Neither of those generations watch TV.
They don't. But, I mean, if you're going to get anybody, it's the millennials, not Gen Z, who are watching Skibbity Toilet and TikTokers.
Guys my age, not that careful. I don't know if any of you have tried to get a 20-something dude from a dating app to wear a condom lately.
Cheery.
But it's sort of like trying to convince a 5-year-old to put a jacket on over his Halloween costume. It's like, no.
That's so funny, Queen.
You're gonna ruin it! You can't even see it!
Women describing sexual exploits as humor will never, ever, and I mean ever, be funny.
It's not funny.
Ever.
It's embarrassing. She's admitting that she hooks up with men who act like toddlers. That's not funny. It's just embarrassing.
There's a $20 super chat there from Dreamcast Night.
Are you gonna say that out loud?
Hi guys. The band's name is Dylan and Chasin and Butt. I added some ands in there.
Yep.
Dylan is,
We're really mature here.
We've all grown.
Anyway.
We're all very grown up here.
There's also a clip of her gushing over Biden and Kamala Harris as part of her routine.
Which is perfectly in line with where you expect this type of humor to go. But with these types of clips, it's right up there with all of the female comedians. Like, they're never going to hire a Chrissy Mayer to do it because it would have to be somebody establishment. And what I realized is, like, at the end of the day, it wouldn't matter who they put in here. They could find a female comedian that's funny, theoretically, there is a unicorn out there somewhere. Off in the distance, that's actually funny.
Get Chrissy Mayer.
But I'm saying,
replace James Corden.
No, here's the problem, because Chrissy Mayer is funny, but the method of delivery, meaning mainstream press, mainstream news network, will never allow it to be funny. So even if this lady is theoretically funny in some parallel universe that I'm not aware of, it's just not going to be funny within the constraints of what she's told to do in the show. Now, they do point out that the show will be less about current events and more open-ended, which could theoretically help them. Like, if it's less about...
I mean, that's what James Corden's thing was all along, right? He just did, like, silly game show games with the Kardashians and stuff, right?
Yeah, so
like, he didn't really talk politics.
I don't know what diversity has to do with any of that.
Of course, as usual, corporate America defines diversity as a white woman. Yes. looks closer. A white woman.
It's mission creep, because then after that it will be a black man. And
remember when Lily Singh tried to have a late night talk show and really break that glass ceiling for Indian women comics?
Man, her and
she is not funny. Z-Way at least has a shtick that differentiates her.
Yes.
But Lily Singh's entire shtick was just dunking on straight white males. And
how would you fix
her sense of humor worked for 13-year-olds on YouTube in 2017.
Yeah,
it doesn't work for having a live studio audience and an adult audience.
How would you fix it if they were like, here, do whatever you want, fix our network television program? How would you fix it?
James Corden?
Like a show like this.
Platform? I mean, cancel it entirely.
Just get rid of it entirely?
Yeah, like, think about the reasons James Corden had to leave. It's a dying format. It's not successful anymore. And if it were, he wouldn't have left his post. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the death of late night television.
Also, I want to point out that one of the things about these types of shows is, like, I believe that it should be a bit of something that you're anointed to. Like, you might be a little young to remember this, but there was a time when Leno was supposed to leave and Conan was supposed to take over, and that was because he had built up his reputation as
you
this
earn
amazing,
your spot.
You earn your spot, right?
If you're a white male.
But the funny thing about it is, it's kind of like how in WWE they make this distinction between the people who win, like, the main championship belt, because it is scripted, it's not technically real. The idea is that the person who wins the belt should have established themselves as such a big star that they make the title rather than the title making them. You don't want to be somebody who's just kind of known and then win the title, then all you're known for is this guy who won this title but isn't really all that great. The idea is that you're supposed to elevate the title, not the title. The title is not supposed to elevate you. She should, like, whoever they hire to take over for this role should elevate the material. It shouldn't require the validation that comes from this show to establish them as some type of player in the industry. And this is what's going on in most of Hollywood these days with with all of the things that have to get made, all of the millions of productions, is that you've got a bunch of people who have no background, no set track record of actually selling out selling out arenas, doing all this great work. Like, you don't have anybody that feels like they earn their way to that spot, because there's literally so many spots to fill that they just drop in people with no pedigree before them. Mm-hmm. And that's not a recipe for bringing in viewers, right? Like, imagine if they gave it to somebody like Andrew Schultz, who's actually funny, and fairly mainstream.
Well, I think that the reason you can't get any of these successful comedians on the margins to do a show like this that's in the traditional format is because the traditional format is dead, and they have made more money and more success and gotten more international fans simply by doing their own thing. He owns his own special now. Yeah. And took that away from Netflix. Yeah. Because he realized that. And all of these comedians that left LA and then or in New York and went to Austin and made their own path, forged their own path.
They should have done it.
Don't discredit the fact that they have fan bases all over the country and all over the world for that reason. Yeah. That they're not relying on getting institutional support and credibility. Yeah. Ooh, some people are saying Andrew Schultz. I find Andrew Schultz funny. I find some of Andrew Schultz's work funny. They disagree with me. Some people don't like him.
But the fact of the matter is he's got a reputation now, and he sells out venues, right? Find somebody with an actual name, but it's kind of impossible to do.
Someone with an actual name doesn't want to hop on this dying format. Yeah. That's the problem.
Yeah, and they're probably losing money.
And
by
someone
doing
as seemingly unoriginal and unfunny as Taylor Tomlinson will be happy to get that institutional stamp of approval and guaranteed salary. Yeah. She can just rest on her laurels.
Well, this is kind of what Tim has talked about before, about wanting to hire people with who have established themselves in the creator space here, right? It's very hard because the people that have the most viability for your business have already proven to themselves that they can do it without the help of anyone else. Mm-hmm. So why would they give up creative control of any sort or take a paycheck when they're in control of their own destiny and they can make the money they need to make themselves and be their own boss?
It's about providing someone more value than they could attain themselves, which if you look at any Daily Wire host, they have no reason to stay at Daily Wire unless Daily Wire gives them some kind of value proposition to stay there. They could obviously all do their own thing. But if you are asking a successful independent comedian to hop on this show and succeed James Corden, they would be ignoring all the logical reasons why James Corden left his post there.
I also think
this format is not working anymore, and the audience for it is getting older and dying, and there's not a new audience for it. Gen Z is not watching late night hosts. Millennials are also really not watching late night hosts, but slightly more.
It's boomers now. I do also think for places like the Daily Wire, a lot of it is they find people that believe in the mission.
Well, that too.
They believe in the mission of the work more than okay. So you're the Daily Wire, right? And yeah, they're hiring some new creator. It's Brett Cooper 2.0 or it's Michael Knowles 2.0, and they come to you with a proposition and they say, look, we are looking to change the culture. We're looking to shift the way America looks at politics, the way America looks at entertainment. That's a pretty profound thing to ask someone to be a part of, right? What
value proposition or meaning or mission does CBS have? Yeah. What is CBS? They don't have values.
They're look,
other than holding the line in the status quo.
They're look, we need somebody to help us dunk on Trump more and do stupid skits with celebrities.
Offer burnt sacrifices to Biden for us.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone who has self-respect and actual talent would not take that role.
Yep. All right. What would you like to see, cringe or cute of the day?
Let's start with cute.
Okay, we got some cute of the day. First things first, this one's gonna skip the line for a little bit. So this is from Dane Font on Twitter. It says, it was her B-day. She has a hat. Please clap.
Nice coffee table, Dane.
That's a very cute dog. I will clap.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
I feel like a lot of people don't know their pets' birthdays.
Really?
Yeah, is that a thing?
I don't think I ever knew any of our. Granted, it was a long time ago. I wonder what Bocus's birthday is. I'm gonna have to figure that out.
Bocus doesn't know what his birthday is.
No, but Bocus wouldn't care anyways.
He's happy.
Yeah, he's fine just the way it is. Very, very cute there, Dane. It doesn't give It doesn't give the name though.
No.
No, it just says
he didn't want to dox the dog.
He didn't want to dox his dog, but the dog does look happy. All right, let's do one more. This is from Waffle Sensei.
Whoa.
It says, girlfriend got a gorgeous shot of our majestic queen, Mila.
That mane is crazy.
That is very cute.
I love it.
It is very regal looking. Mm-hmm. All right. All right. And we also have some cringe of the day now that people have gotten their share. And remember, guys, hashtag cute of the day, hashtag PCC pets, tag me and Pop Culture Crisis in there. I do go looking for them. I check the hashtag PCC pets because I'm not always tagged in there. Mm-hmm. So go ahead and put those there if you would like to have your pets featured here. Here we go. This is
Matan Evan, famous for the We Love Landlords
the
clip.
greatest thing that happened in all of 2023 is a guy who loves landlords.
He has started his own podcast, and he had Whoa Vicky on the pod.
Honestly, that setup is it.
It's so
good.
I don't give a shit.
That's the best part.
Hope you like the podcast.
There's literally a hole in the table. It's collapsing.
I'm obsessed.
Here we go.
Are you making fun of black people on purpose, or is that unintentional?
I'm not never make fun of nobody.
Oh, so it's unintentional. It's like an accident.
Yeah, I was just making funny videos.
The context was that you were pretending to be black, or are you actually...
Wait, was he about to say, or are you actually black?
Are you making fun of...
Wait, so who is the guest?
Whoa, Vicky. Okay, have you not seen her before? She's kind of in the same league as Danielle Bergoli.
Oh, okay.
She made a lot of videos claiming that she's black, which she obviously isn't.
Oh, the first comment says, cash me outside.
Yeah, it's literally that girl, like the Walmart version of Bad Baby.
I love it.
I really, guys, tell Matan Evan to let me on his podcast. That would be like a peak of my life.
It would be amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I like the idea that like the table
Oh, he
gets
needs
worse.
to go on Alex Stein.
Yeah.
Has that happened yet?
It's almost too perfect.
Has that happened yet?
I don't know.
I would be surprised if they haven't reached out, because that's just like, I need to see that duo.
He's so funny.
Name a more iconic duo. I'll
so
wait.
Funny. All right, guys, let's go ahead. Now that we are 38 minutes into the show today, ladies and gentlemen, let's just go ahead and get started, shall we? So, now that we are less than a week away from the release of The Marvels, we are seeing the news reports coming out from various aspects or various parts of the press talking about how the box office doesn't look good. It looks like this movie is going to flop, and it doesn't seem that the Access Media has any problem admitting it now, which they would have.
It's so bad that they have to just come to terms with it. The jig is up for Marvel. So this Deadline report said that it would not be shocking if we see the Marvels charting one of the lowest openings for a Marvel Studios movie next weekend, with less than 70 million, lower than the Eternals. The movie, not only a sequel to Captain Marvel, but also a crossover from a Disney Plus series, Miss Marvel, and WandaVision.
Which
pre-sales for the Marvels, get this, are pacing behind that of Black Adam and The Flash.
And if you don't remember, guys, those movies, they didn't do very well.
So
at the box
DC is no
office.
longer the underdog.
Yep.
They're both in the crapper now.
Well, in this Digital Trends article, they point out that superhero fatigue was a convenient excuse used for DC films.
I'm sure for the
back in
next
day.
year, the SAG strike and the WGA strike are also going to be convenient excuses, but no amount of promotion could gain back the goodwill with fans that they lost in the meantime. And this says, none of the movie's many trailers, clips, or sneak peeks have convinced a disinterested audience that it has anything new to offer other than the usual CGI fight sequences, pointless Easter eggs, which you know I hate, that endlessly tease a new future project, or corny one-liners that are a dime a dozen.
And I was thinking about something. First of all, I like it when I decided to just challenge myself. When I started reading this article, I started just listing all of the reasons why a movie like this might not succeed. But a better comparison came to my mind before I get to those was, remember when we watched the trailer for Argyle? And we had a positive reaction to it. And what did you like more than anything in that trailer?
The cat.
The cat. Okay.
Okay, I admit it.
Nobody
It
watching.
was the CGI cat.
Nobody watching this trailer cares about the cat in the Marvels. It's not cute. It's not funny. It's not fun.
There was a cat
Yes,
in the Marvels
and nobody-
trailer
and
that I
no-
forgot about.
and nobody cares. because there's no goodwill. There's at least the goodwill of the unknown with Argyle having a fun trailer that's cut up that at least feels like a Matthew Vaughn film, right?
Look, a lot of this has to do with the fact that the chicks aren't hot. The women are not va-va
I
boom.
think
Brie Larson's
is
cute,
attractive,
obviously, but I mean,
yeah.
it's not. They're not va-va boom.
And here's the thing, somebody in the chat says cat ladies care. Yes, but the thing is, cat ladies aren't going to see this movie. One of the comparisons they make, I found this article later, and it says, this is really funny. It says, can the Marvels continue the female-led box office momentum of Barbie and Taylor Swift? No! Because it's not the same thing. Barbie is a movie made by a woman, marketed to women, for women, based on a character and a toy that was always designed to be for girls, and girls grow up to be women. Superhero movies were designed to be watched and read by boys. I don't care what you say, it always was.
And comic book fans, which happen to be boys.
And there's plenty. I'm not saying that there aren't women that don't love comic book movies and that don't read comics. There are plenty. I know some of them. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that audience demographics are a thing.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not, the audiences usually skew male, and nothing that this movie has done or made in its promotional material leads you to courting your main target demographic audience. The other reasons that they give, it's like, first of all, there's no genuine interest. Also, it's the pandering to non-fans. That's what I mean by the cat and all of that stuff. And here's the other thing. We are now past the level of the A and B list heroes. We're into the C and D and E list heroes now. The average person, whether you like it or not, doesn't care or know who Monica Rambeau is, doesn't know the history of Captain Marvel, doesn't know the history of Miss Marvel.
Didn't watch the Disney Plus shows, which stank.
Yes. So,
and maybe didn't even watch Captain Marvel.
So the reason why comic book movies sold back in the day, now I use like network television shows as like a barometer for this, meaning that if they make like a joke about a comic book character in a show that's in just a regular TV show, whether it's a police procedural or a comedy, they're using the characters you've heard of before. I was watching an old episode of The Mentalist where Patrick Jane gets pulled over and he's on his way to a crime scene and he goes, aren't we all part of the Justice League? Would Batman give Aquaman a ticket? Even that was like Aquaman being referenced in a 2010 TV show
even a little
was still a little bit out there for a normie, for an average audience viewer. You're not holding on to them. You have none of the goodwill from your past successes because you've released 37,000 Disney Plus shows that nobody cares about. You sandwiched Captain Marvel in between the two Avengers movies, pretending as if you needed to see that movie to understand what was going to happen in Endgame. That proved to be false. So that was bullshit. You have none of the goodwill. You have none of the direction. It's literally just a meandering feeling of nothingness now, and you wonder why the interest is so low. It's really funny because somebody was talking to me about this recently because I was talking with someone about one of the problems that I have when doing this show is my brain is scattershot and ridiculous, and it very often takes turns left, right, doesn't make a whole ton of sense. Problem is, my mouth tries to catch up with it, and then I lose my train of thought, and I go off on some tangent, and I never make it back to this point. I notice this the most when we're like editing clips for social media. I'm like, wow, Brett, sure would have been great if you'd finished that thought you were making right there. The problem is that my brain is scattershot and disconnected and disoriented, and that's how Marvel feels right now. It doesn't feel like it's well put together with a lot of forethought. It feels like it's going the DC route, which is running around like a chicken with its head cut off. All of that comes together to make something that is far from appetizing to average viewers who have to pay $8 gazillion to go see your movie with mediocre popcorn and a drink.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. And they're bringing back Nick Fury. So he was in all the shows too. Like, I love Samuel L. Jackson, but that's not the draw that it used to be. None of this stuff is.
Well, look who's on the poster. He's not on the movie poster. You're selling this with Brie Larson in the center.
And then there was also the did you see the thing from Breitbart where they're preemptively making excuses?
We love John Nolte. He writes, the Disney grooming syndicate's latest Marvel entry, The Marvels, smells like it's about to flop hard next week. And the eunuchs in the entertainment media are already inventing excuses to explain it away. And those are like, oh, the stars aren't going to be able to promote it at Comic-Cons. Like, stop. There's no saving this.
Yep.
It's been over. I mean, the last movie that they put out was Ant-Man Quantumania. You didn't see it. I went and saw it because I'm insane. And it was painful to watch.
and here's the thing, they're like talking in the comments section right now. They're talking about the various TV shows. You're never going to get the... If you were to ask me, the only one that I liked of the ones that I saw, I liked Hawkeye. It was fine. That was at the end of 2021. We're coming up on almost a full year from them now.
Well, okay. I saw this interview with Nia DaCosta, the director of the Marvels, who made a big deal out of how she is a diverse, minority directing a Marvel movie, which makes her somehow earn points. I definitely wanted the people to be inside of their experience. I want it to be very subjective. So I want it to feel as jarring for the audience as it is for them. We have Miss Marvel, the TV show, Captain Marvel, WandaVision, and it was a constant negotiation to figure out how much information do people need. It was a real trial and error. We don't want people to have to watch anything else. But of course, you also have to be honest. This is the 33rd project in this universe. It's sort of a sequel to 5 different things. So at a certain point, you just have to be like, yeah, there are some things we can't get in here, but it'll be fun.
Also, they're never gonna admit that established characters make them Guardians of the Galaxy did fine, but even Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 didn't get to $1 billion. It got to like $850 million. That was the last movie that they released where it felt like there was any of that old Marvel success, right? It's gone now. Ant-Man didn't do well.
Yeah, and
Thor did not do well.
I saw this opinion column in Variety called "What Comes After Marvel? Better hope it's not something worse."
Or are they referring to video games in that?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
It said, if you want a preview of what movies could turn into after the age of Marvel, look no further than the monster success of Five Nights at Freddy's. That became as big as it did because it's based on a video game that's bigger than movies. Video game films have historically sputtered, but this year, the makers of Super Mario Bros. Movie got it right, and the makers of Five Nights at Freddy's did too, at least commercially. So basically they're saying...
Sonic the year before.
Yes, yeah.
And even Uncharted made a little bit of money, even though a lot of people didn't like the movie. I thought it was fine, because anytime I get to see like a Mark Wahlberg adventure flick, even if it's not good, it was a fine night at the movies.
Video game based movies do better, it seems, than video game based shows, given The Last of Us.
I mean, I like Twisted Metal. I don't have any data on like what its numbers were, but I enjoyed the Twisted Metal TV show. But again, that's a game that at the time was basing it on the first game, which had like no lore, right? It's not. It is what it is. I
was worried they were gonna make a Life is Strange TV show after The Last of Us, because it's so perfect for diversity points. It's like, let's put these 2 13-year-old lesbians in a show that's already written for us. With one has blue hair. It's awesome.
And I don't buy. And I'm sorry, I don't buy that. If the idea is that they're gonna bring back the old Avengers, I'll believe that when I actually see a picture of all of them on set filming some movie where they get back Scarlett Johansson, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans. First of all, the money truck you will have to back up to get those 3 actors back. Even Marvel doesn't have that money truck right now. Not with the way things are going. Like they said, it was $25 million up front for Robert Downey Jr. for Iron Man 3, and that was in like 2013. It ain't happening. And all of those people are going to take a percentage.
$20 one from Baron of Grey Matter. Agree with Mary on late night TV. Brett, how about a live action version of the movie Heavy Metal? Who would play? I can't read that. Tarna.
Interesting. I would have to. I don't think I ever saw it, so I'd have to look into it. But there are some things that I would like to see that I'm excited about. So, for instance, I've started watching Highlander. I never saw the Highlander show. Right? And I started watching the Highlander show because I was reading about this great bit of information about how Christopher Lambert got this insane upfront fee because like I guess like they turned down his initial offer, and then they that for like him he played the main character in the movie, and then he's supposed to come on the TV show and like pass the torch to the new main character, and like they backed out. They're like, we're not going to pay you that, and then the script got rewritten, and they had to ask him like days before they were filming it, and so he jacked up the price to like way higher and got this insane fee out of them for that. I love that. Stick it to the studios. Stick it to the studios.
But not by striking.
Stick it. Well, no, because that's the free market, right? They need him to sell the show.
Yeah.
Sell the show.
People striking.
And that show did end up
have
going.
a good track
and that show
record.
ended up going
Rachel
on.
Zegler.
Exactly. That show did go on to do like 4 or 5 seasons. But yeah, so I just don't see how bringing back the old characters. The bloom is off the rose. It's not the same now.
I agree, but like this person is saying that about Marvel, but they're saying that video game movies would end up in the same situation. I don't see that happening.
It is fair to say that The Last of Us did well numbers wise. It's just what we thought of the show doesn't really matter. It's whether people watched it or not.
That is if they're being honest about the numbers.
I mean the sentiment
happens.
I saw online, I felt.
Thank you.
I felt that the sentiment.
How is Last of Us season 2 gonna go?
Are they gonna drag it out and keep Joel for another season? Yes.
If they wanted to keep Joel for the next season, wouldn't they have written it differently?
I have no idea. I mean, that assumes they're competent at their job. So I have no idea. But yeah, it's just
Last of Us was trash.
It's a downhill slope right now for Marvel, and I don't think bringing back the old stars is how you fix it. I think that it's. Have you ever? Here we go. Have you ever been in a relationship with someone? You have a strong relationship and it kind of slowly falls apart, or maybe it falls apart quickly and you break up, and then some time goes by and you're like, let's try it again. And then you go out and you date again. It's never the same second time around, ladies and gentlemen. It just isn't. It's not the way the world works. So I don't think going back for another round of dates with Robert Downey Jr. and Scarlett Johansson, as fun as that might be, will bring back the same level of panache that Marvel had before. I don't think they're going to manage to pull that off.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, let's go to Super Chats.
Andrew Jacobs said, "Hi, Mary, you look nice. Hi, Brett."
Well, at least he included me in the Super Chat. That was
Hi,
nice.
Brett.
Thanks.
You can read the tone.
Yes.
The Last of My Kind said, YouTube ad block backfires. What does that mean?
Did it backfire?
I don't know what you mean. Yorishima Otaru said that city is not real. It's not real.
That's what you should have done. Now she's gonna like collab with everyone now. I just saw something of her playing basketball with the Barstool guys. Let's do one more.
Shane H. Wilder said, I saw the dude's comment thread, Mary, and was like, not worth my time to even comment, like the photos and move on. Agree on the fake city. What I want to know is where you found that Zin flag. The flag that says, forgive me, Lord, for I have zinned, does not belong to me. I just found that somewhere.
I saw it. You post that. And I'm like, I don't know what Mary's room would look like, but I feel like that's not Mary's room.
I'm not a flag collector. I'm not someone that unfolds flags and tacks them onto my wall.
Though I think it would have been funny if it's like that flag and then there's like a cross right next to it. I'm like, okay, maybe that could have been Mary's room. I don't know.
No.
All right, let's go ahead and move on,
right.
shall we? Why don't you tell me what is going on with Russell Brand?
Well, today we have a tale of 2 lawsuits, one of the MeToo nature and another of the mean-to nature. A friend of the show, Colonel Kurtz, has astutely observed that hostile work environment is the new Me Too, and I wholly agree. But firstly, this one is about Russell Brand. So the stories about Russell Brand kind of went dark for a while after that Channel 4 Dispatch investigation went public. But now this has finally been brought to court. A different accuser, who has also stayed anonymous, has brought forward allegations that happened on the set of the movie Arthur in 2010. So this was quite a while ago.
Oh, by the way, do you know who else was in that movie?
Who?
Greta Gerwig.
She was.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that in the article.
Yep.
So this says he has been accused of SA by a film extra during the production of Arthur in 2010. It says that Brand, quote unquote, appeared intoxicated, smelling of alcohol, and was carrying a bottle of vodka on set prior to the assault. Brand, who played the titular role in Arthur, proceeded to expose himself to the complainant, Jane Doe, in full view of the cast and crew.
Here's the thing.
And
he could have been going the Jared Leto route with the method acting.
He was method acting.
Because it says a drunken playboy stands to lose a wealthy inheritance when he falls for a woman his family doesn't like. Maybe he was just trying to get into character.
Maybe. I can't imagine what the cast and crew would have thought after seeing that. I wonder if she can get anyone to corroborate that this part of the story happened.
Be very difficult.
If it happened in public view. Now, finally, the essay happened later that same day when I was in the bathroom, she said. Mr. Brand entered after me and assaulted me. As a member of the production crew, guarded the door from outside.
That's crazy. Like, if that's true, that's insane. Like, is that like
at the behest of
him?
Russell Brand,
Like,
or what? And how would she even know that if she were inside at the time that this happened?
Wasn't there a similar story about Conor McGregor doing something like this at a hotel? I feel like there was.
I don't know. As a result of the essay, I suffered and continue to suffer extreme embarrassment, shame, and fear. So this lawsuit is not only against Russell Brand, it's also against the production companies that were all involved in making Arthur. So that's quite a fight to pick.
Yeah. It's
but why do they keep coming forward anonymously? Why?
What do you do? Like, what do you do in that way, right? Like, there's no way to corroborate. All it really can do is hurt that person's reputation, but it doesn't actually solve a problem because you can't actually adjudicate this.
The MeToo movement, man.
Well, I mean,
it was started by women who were aging out of the ability to leverage their sexuality to get opportunities and roles in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And they decided to weaponize their sexuality one last time by MeTooing someone.
So it was like a crescendo.
It's, and what I believe, my polemic on MeToo has been that this is a direct result of sexual liberation, because sexual liberation requires everyone to have accountability, and women can't do that.
I believe that it might be what I would call like one of the worst sides of a liberal worldview, right?
Well,
meaning that we've liberated people, we've created this liberal doctrine here in America that I think for a very long time felt more balanced and even keel. Like I said, when I was growing up, it was very, very common to see the at school and in the press was the push for women. It's like, get out into the workforce. Now we all know that was just a tax scheme by the government anyways. But the point being that, like, look, we said to women, we said, you can do anything you want. You can be the president. You can be the CEO. You can do all of these things. You do not have to get married at 20.
But it comes at a price.
But nobody said the comes at a price part.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with living your life as though it was created with slogans.
It's all about trade-offs. Yep. And I believe the sexual revolution incentivized women to bargain with their sexuality rather than have value in their femininity, and incentivized men to bargain with their power and opportunities that they could offer and their resources in order to get sex. And that's why when stories like this happen, I struggle to conjure up sympathy in my heart for either party, because when you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
And in the absence of an actual victim, a way to prove it, this goes back to what I say about it's impossible to care about everyone. I believe that a person who claims to care as much about their family and friends as they do some woman or man on a set of a movie that gets assaulted or gets in trouble or something like I don't buy that you actually care that deeply. I think that you're virtue signaling.
Think about there are so few platforms where you can talk honestly about female psychology at this point. But think about the aspect of all this that is non-victims convincing other non-victims that they are victims. You know?
Yeah.
How did Jane Doe from this lawsuit get convinced to come forward with these allegations?
Psychology.
It was the media blitz that, like, this media avalanche that threw Russell Brand under the bus.
And it wouldn't be
So
necessarily.
she thought that she finally had the power to come forward. But I mean, it's better for everyone's mental well-being to not think of things that happened to them as trauma, even if they were.
Yeah. It's
I don't know the truth behind any of this. I don't know if this happened. I don't know anything. But I see that, you know, she's coming forward at a very strategic time.
the desire to label every bad thing that's ever happened to us as trauma. Again, I don't know if this claim is true, then yes, that would be trauma. But the push to consider everything that happens to us that's bad as trauma, it cheapens the word. It actually cheapens in a lot of ways our resolve as human beings, right? Like what we're able to deal with. And for cases like this, when it has to end up in a court and you put it into the court of public opinion, now the sides are set so ferociously on either side, right? There's the people who aren't going to trust a word you say unless you produce a high quality H.264 video of the assault happening. People have been screwed too many times to believe it. The other people, the ardent supporters, you could produce no evidence. You could actually produce evidence of you committing a crime and they would still say that you were the victim because you're a woman, and you know,
this has been
people have picked their
something-
sides, which is unfortunate.
MeToo was something perpetrated by menopausal Gen X women, and its consequences have severely screwed over future generations. Because look at the way that young men have to act in society now.
Terrified?
They're terrified.
All because Russell Brand can't, you know.
They're these mousy, cowardly, impotent shadows of what men ought to be.
That's
all because of the implications of Me Too, and
the
also
actions of the ultra men that have way more status in society.
There are other aspects to that. There are other factors there, like, I mean, porn addiction and things like that. But it's not to be discounted that a Hollywood movement like this caused severe, it caused unforgivable consequences for younger generations. So anyway,
it's
the Abigail Breslin lawsuit is how the turntables turn. So Abigail Breslin is being sued by the production company behind Classified, which is a spy thriller where she plays the daughter of Aaron Eckhart, the starring role. And she accused her co-star of being aggressive and demeaning and refused to appear with him alone in several scenes that they were supposed to film together.
She's supposed to play his daughter.
Yeah, she played his long-lost daughter. And that obviously, you know, when two of the biggest characters in a movie can't film scenes together, causes issues for production. And they are trying to sue her for damages of $80,000 because she refuses to sign an agreement to finalize this release. And she's also, by refusing to film these scenes with him, changed the movie's plotline itself.
Happened in the Miami Vice movie. Jamie Foxx refused to go back to the Dominican Republic to film scenes because of something that happened on set, so they had to fundamentally change the entire ending to the film. Also, I remember somebody saying that when Polly Perrette's character left NCIS, who was like, she played Abby, who was like a very good, almost like a younger daughter to the main character. Like, those two actors didn't get along by the time the show was over, and they had to basically film their last scene together through a window so that they could do over-the-shoulder shots, so they never had to be in the same room while they were shooting it.
So she alleged that Aaron Eckhart acted so aggressively toward her on set that she was afraid to be alone with him. Now, it's weird because filming a scene where it's just them in the scene doesn't mean she's alone in a room with him. Yeah. The entire rest of the cast and crew is there with you. So it seems more like she was trying to get revenge against the rest of the production because of interpersonal issues she had with him.
It's like mentioning the stuff with Joss Whedon. It's like the Joss Whedon one actually has merit. Joss Whedon wasn't allowed to be alone with Michelle Trachtenberg because he'd make her cry and everything. But that's not what this is, because he wouldn't actually be alone with her because there would be a whole crew of people behind them.
So the lawsuit says during the course of production, the entire production almost ground to a halt when Breslin advised the production of Eckhart's aggressive, demeaning, and unprofessional behavior, which she insisted placed her at various times in peril. And she also sent a confidential letter to SAG-AFTRA setting forth her fears and blasting Mr. Eckhart's behavior. And they claim that no one in the rest of the cast and crew can corroborate her claims that he was acting aggressive or demeaning her.
They're also extremely malleable things to say. What does that mean? Demeaning how?
There's no explanation.
I would like a better option would have been to list an explanation. Like, give me like an example of what he did that was so offensive or that upset you so much, especially if this is going to court, and the idea is that you're supposed to figure this out in a courtroom where you have to actually provide evidence. Sure, you might not be able to provide me with me or the court or anybody else with video of what happened, but at least be specific so that people don't just hear these buzzwords and immediately make it seem like you're going after a paycheck, which is what it sounds like, even if it is true.
At this point, if a woman is accusing a man even of something with less gravity than an assault or abuse of some kind, it's still in the MeToo milieu because it's starting to carry that same weight with it. And when bystanders see these headlines and immediately disqualify it and cast disbelief on those allegations, who can blame them?
Yep. Especially
like,
when
we've been burned too many times.
And the whole demanded payment part makes it hard to believe as well.
Yeah, which it says Abigail Breslin has demanded a payment of $35,000 as a condition for signing the final agreement, which will get the film released.
That tells me
and
that
get them the tax
of,
credits they need to stay above water.
That tells me that what was the charges that he was demeaning? What were the different things? He was demeaning.
There's nothing specific.
Aggressive.
It just says aggressive, demeaning, and unprofessional behavior.
That tells me
no
that
details.
Aggressive, demeaning, and unprofessional behavior has a $35,000 price tag.
Yep.
There's a $20 super chat here from Bullet Shepherd. Mary hit the head exactly. Men have become cowering, mousy, indecisive, unconfident messes due to the bulldozing feminists and government favoritism of them. I don't cut them any slack, though. They wanted this. They get the bad parts, too.
Well, I mean, women, think about it. Why do women hate men so much these days? It's not for any of the stated reasons, because women so rarely state how they really feel or how they really think. It's because of this. Men aren't acting like men, and women hate men that they can't respect. Women can't love a man that they can't respect.
Even if that's true, I doubt.
And that's what this is.
Even if that's true, I doubt that any of those women could articulate.
Oh, of course not.
What it is that they would respect in a guy. Anyways, it would be a bunch of feminist platitudes about what respect for a woman actually is. Which
Han Solo would get mean-toed by Princess Leia in 2023.
I mean, we'll ask that question.
Han Solo created a hostile work environment for Princess Leia where he was very aggressive, demeaning, and unprofessional.
This is actually a fair question. It's slightly off topic. Like, what would, for a feminist, what would it be about a man? What would a man do that they actually respected? I would be interested to know what the answer to that question would be. It's not.
It's always just a platitude. Like, he treats women like people, maybe? It's always something like that. Feminists can't be honest about what they really desire.
I don't even know if it's necessarily. I mean, for the most awful and sociopolitically minded of them, maybe. The rest, I think it's literally just not being able to put words to the idea because you haven't thought the idea through thoroughly enough to really know what it is. You know it when you see it. Like, you know it when you see it. It's kind of like they were pointing out with Taylor Swift. Like, why does she like this guy who's very different than all the other guys she's dated? Maybe, and obviously that's a horrible example because I don't know anything about their actual relationship, but the idea is that they might not know why it is that a certain type of guy attracts them. We also saw there was like surveys in the past that said even feminists don't want to date male feminists.
And there was a woman on TikTok who says, like, I'm a feminist, but I don't want to date a feminist or a liberal guy because they don't act like men ought to act. And it's like, wow, maybe that should make you question the validity of your entire worldview if you had a couple more IQ points above room temperature.
No, it's because the worst actors of all of them put the movement ahead of those causes because they believe that getting the movement ahead is more important.
Feminism and sexual liberation collapse in on themselves as political movements when they put women in charge of their own decision making and ask women to take accountability for their desires, which for thousands of years women have, rightly so, benefited from not doing. So there's really no end to this in sight, as we always say when we talk about MeToo or MeToo allegations. This is going to keep going.
The West will fall before anything changes.
Yeah, it's just going to run itself into the ground. So let these people cannibalize each other for all I care.
All right, let's go super chats.
Shane H. Wilder said date night at the STD clinic. Wow, she sounds like a keeper. Rolls eyes in sarcasm. The golden ticket joke was on point. Thank you. Goofer Trooper said, back at work with my finger no longer looking like a popped hot dog. Got special permission to have headphones and had to listen live at work again. Let's go.
Exactly. Do one more.
Shane H. Wilder said days without Brett mentioning house board 0.
Perfect. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Tell us what's going on with the crazy amount of Disney casting rumors.
Well, it seems like Disney is thinking about hiring Michael B. Jordan to play Hercules in a live-action adaptation of their 1997 animated movie. It says that despite not having much known about the overall story, they've confirmed filmmakers will be taking inspiration from TikTok to appeal to the modern teenage audiences.
I want to point out that both of these stories, I'm going to just say they're bullshit. I think they're both bullshit. And the reason I say that is because this Michael B. Jordan story, not the Zendaya one, we'll get to the Zendaya one. The Michael B. Jordan story is recycled from a 2021 article, and I'm actually kind of fascinated how these things find their way back to the public interest, because what it really is like somebody saw this headline, somebody
a lot
on
of it is
Twix,
the fact that the strike is ongoing and we don't have real news to talk about, so the fake news gets recycled.
So somebody on Twix reposted this, and I have because I just don't sit there and argue with people on Twitter or really care enough. I saw this article start to recirculate, and I was like, I almost went in and was like, this is from 2021. This is not true.
Not important enough.
But the point is these topics become hotbeds for argument and discussion because it really does always come back to the problems with Disney casting and how much it ends up interesting the public.
Well, Taron Egerton was also reportedly in the running for Hercules, so it doesn't have to be a race swap. But this says that Michael B. Jordan has stated he would rather do something original. So if offered the role, he probably would prefer an original character with Hercules' abilities for his own story. Wow, original characters from Disney? Groundbreaking. Also, there are rumors that Zendaya is in the running to play a live-action adaptation of Moana, and they actually put her in an AI-generated fan trailer playing Moana.
That music is copyrighted. We can't play it.
We can't play it for you guys because we'll get demonetized or whatever. But this would also be a race swap if we're talking about that technically. She's obviously black. Moana is Hawaiian. So would people be mad about a race swap that is between two minorities? Or are you not allowed to be mad at that?
They would be mad. She's not Polynesian, so they would have a problem with it.
But she's still a minority, right?
There would be less pushback, but there would be pushback.
And she's also a former Disney child star, so I'm sure she's a favorite of theirs.
Yep.
I can't see her playing Moana just because of the age difference.
Yeah.
She's 26. Moana is like 14. So that doesn't make sense.
I mean, it's not...
But I know, like, we talked about Lilo and Stitch getting a live action adaptation and how much just hemming and hawing there was about the casting for that because they chose a girl who is not Hawaiian to play Lilo. To play Lilo's older sister.
Correct.
And then her love interest was also exposed for saying the N-word on Facebook in like 2013. So they had to fire him. There's just no way to do these things right. Make a new story instead of recycling old ones.
I actually don't think there would be a problem with Zendaya playing that role, but I just know.
Do you think people would get offended about it?
I do. I think a certain part of the internet would, but it wouldn't catch the news cycle the way it would if she was white, obviously, because it would be even more egregious. But it's
There's
not
just
like
no
they
way
don't do this
to
before.
win when you're casting from an existing property. And this is also less than 10 years after Moana was released. So they're clearly scraping the bottom of the barrel for content instead of writing new stories or greenlighting new stories that I'm sure are constantly being pitched to them.
Yeah.
They don't get a chance. So, I mean, you're just running into problems that don't need to happen. Like outrage that doesn't need to be sparked by doing this, like by refusing to create new characters.
Mm-hmm. Casting for new characters would also give them the freedom to cast the stars that they want rather than having to find a star with enough of a name that also fits into the demographic you're trying to pitch for a film.
Mm-hmm. And also, this is a lot of adults giving way too much of a damn what children like. Like, I found this awful Reddit thread that we were mentioning earlier about a white girl who happens to identify with Mulan, an Asian Disney princess, and there are adults who find this offensive and racist. This actually will give you cancer.
I mean, the person who cares about this, if you want to explain it here, but the person who cares about this doesn't care because they care about Disney or what kids like. They care because it has to do with race, gender, sexuality, and all the other buzzwords that adults these days have been told that they need to care about.
This says, woman takes offense at white 8-year-old comparing herself to an Asian Disney princess. So let me just read this out. Am I the a-hole for not correcting my daughter when she says she is just like Mulan because she is white? It says, my 8-year-old daughter is autistic and her favorite Disney princess is Mulan. Ever since she was little, she was completely obsessed with her, and whenever we asked why she was her favorite, she would always say how her and Mulan are just alike. And that being said, I can understand how it can sound when my daughter, who is not Chinese or of Asian descent, says that her and Mulan are just alike, because I know the context. I didn't see anything wrong with her wording it like that. I took my daughter on a play date with one of my coworkers and her daughter, and the subject of Disney princesses came up. My daughter, of course, used the opportunity to talk about her love of Mulan and their similarities. And my coworker gave me a funny look. After the two girls went off to play, my coworker asked why I allow my daughters to say things like that when it is obviously offensive. I explained the context behind my daughter's words, and my coworker said that I shouldn't let my daughter word it as such because others will find it offensive.
First of all, isn't Mulan, she's not a princess though, is she? I guess it's just the vernacular.
She's one of the Disney princesses, if you're thinking about it like that.
What it is it proves it proves their argument about representation wrong. Mm-hmm. That you don't actually have
that representation matters.
Yes.
If this white girl can feel represented by an Asian character, why would it be any different for an Asian 8-year-old girl to identify with a white Disney princess?
Yeah, exactly.
Both are entirely possible because, fortunately, 8-year-olds haven't yet been poisoned with this indoctrination about race.
Well, enough with single motherhood on the rise. It's going to start younger and younger.
Oh, and for additional context, that coworker is also white.
Yes.
So she is being
She felt
offended
the need
on
to-
behalf of Asians everywhere. I'm sure she believes she's going to be rewarded for that in time, but she is, in fact, the a-hole in this situation.
Yeah, and most of the, to be fair to the chat or to the responses, most of them said that the other lady was the problem and not her. But it shows you the level of indoctrination to the public about how important it is that you're supposed to take race, gender, sexuality, and all these things. I always wonder why it stops there. Like, to me, like, why would I feel like any of these characters is supposed to? Because they were, I mean, this stuff was coming out about Jenna Ortega recently too, about not feeling Latina enough to represent her
She said
culture.
that?
And I just wonder, like, all the characters in my life that I identified with weren't about identifying with them. It was about liking the character. Why do I need to identify with any of these characters at all? Like,
Because
they make it seem as if
pop culture is a secular religion.
They make these things seem as if liking a character and feeling represented by a character are synonymous.
This is the same mental illness that makes people debate about what race Jesus was.
Yeah.
Like, completely missing the point that that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, that is not the point. And in this person's mind, I'm sure she thinks that this white 8-year-old girl should like Cinderella because she's white like me.
Yes.
And then the black girl should think that she likes Princess Tiana because she's black like me. Completely ignoring anything about their storylines, their characters, anything.
I mean,
because that's not,
by that logic, you wouldn't. Why does it stop at race? Like, I wouldn't identify with almost any superhero because most of them have genius level IQs and are in super good shape. I am neither. Right. Therefore, what does representation have to do with either of those things? It doesn't have anything to do with either of them. It makes no sense.
Ariel has a tail and I don't have a tail.
It's just weird Marxist
I can't identify
identity
with
politics that is designed to pull people apart from one another and not bring them together, which is sad because for a long time, like, look, growing up, my favorite athletes were Ken Griffey Jr. Am I supposed to not want to be was I supposed to not want to swing a baseball bat the same way Ken Griffey Jr. did because I didn't look like him? Was I supposed to want to swing a baseball bat like Mark McGwire because Mark McGwire was white and Ken Griffey Jr. was black? Kick rocks with that knot. That's bullshit. It's stupid, and it's designed to destroy you. It's designed to destroy me. It's designed to tear down the fabric of this country with this Marxist bullshit, and it's attempts to prove everything the 90s did right, wrong, failing every step of the way, not realizing that all the things that people love go so much deeper than I'll never understand why it stops there. Why does it stop at race and gender? Why does it, like, are billionaires only supposed to identify with billionaire characters? Is only Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos allowed to identify with Batman? What is to say that those, like, if you asked somebody like Jeff Bezos what aspect of his personality affects him more on a day-to-day basis, his skin color or his ridiculous amount of wealth, he's going to tell you it's his ridiculous amount of wealth. That's what affects his life more on a day-to-day basis.
Or really his answer depends on what's going to affect his ridiculous amount of wealth more.
Exactly. And it's just
which answers the question for you.
It's it really is one of those things where these topics, these arguments, these discussions were designed by very rich elites to keep us, the plebs, arguing with one another rather than pushing back on the bullshit going on in the real world. And the front lines of that is pop culture used as propagandistic distractions to the masses. So it breaks my heart also because when I think back to it, so many of the characters that I loved had nothing. Like, we were talking on Friday. I said, "You see Blade?" He's like, "I loved Blade growing up." I was like, "Guess what? Me too." Director Phil looked more like Wesley Snipes than me. Guess what? Doesn't stop either of us from loving the character. And it just breaks my heart to see a bunch of rich, slimy, scumbag elitists and college professors pushing this on kids when the 8-year-olds in this story are the clear evidence that it's not necessary outside of political accelerationism.
That conversation about like, are the Disney princesses not bodily diverse enough? Like, are they too skinny for girls to identify with them, and they give them self-image issues? That's also been disproven, but it's a purely academic discussion that doesn't matter to children.
And it's, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, because then it pushes the kids to be more narcissistic. So now the next generation will not have the same sentiments we do.
Like with MeToo, if you constantly pester people into questioning whether or not they're victims, they're going to err on the side of thinking that they're victims. Just don't even entertain the idea. You'd be better off in life just not thinking of all of these things as trauma.
The other part of this these stories is it proves that the idea of the original story is clearly the better idea, but the least, not the one that gets you the most attention. Therefore, they will never go for it. Eventually, we'll get live action, Encanto, and we'll get live action movies based on other characters, and good. And then we can see how those castings go. But wouldn't it be better to just see all these studios go that way? And just like I said, I'm more excited. Like when I watched Samaritan for a C- movie, or a C, I'll give it a C+. It was a C+ movie at best, but it was original, and none of the characters had any of the baggage that comes from these arguments happening. I would rather see this stuff. I am gonna watch Bass Reeves, Lawman Bass Reeves, which is a show about the first ever black U.S. Marshal. I believe it just launched on Paramount Plus. Somebody else mentioned Tarzan. Yes, they will never race swap Tarzan. That will always stay the same. So you'll be
he's safe.
You will be represented. Have no fear. If you who wrote that are white, you will be represented. Have no fear whatsoever about that. You'll still get that character.
Will they race swap? What was her name? Jane?
I have no idea.
Is that out of bounds?
Probably. I have no idea. It'd be funny if they did.
It's also this is besides the point, kind of, but the impulse to make everything animated into something live action is totally misguided, because it takes all of the charm and creativity out of it by placing it in the real world, which is ugly and dull. And no one watches like Freedom Tunes and thinks, I can't wait to see this in the live action version.
Actually, I would love to see. He should have a skit called Freedom Tunes live action, where it's just they reenact skits from the.
But no one's asking for that, obviously.
I am now officially asking for it.
For you.
I am asking for Freedom Tunes live action. There's no excitement around
the medium makes the movie what it is. Yep. The medium of animation makes the characters who they are. That's important.
Yep, TV and movies were better back in the day. I'm watching this show called Shark with James Woods. And television was just so much better back in like 2000. Like Tim had a tweet over the weekend that said the 90s was the great decade. It was the last great decade. I said I don't have as much of a problem with 2000 through 2010.
Yeah.
Things got bad thereafter, but a lot of stuff that I loved came out between 2000 and 2010. And I was talking about it because I said, look, there was with those shows, I look at the stuff that gets made now. And I look at the dour tone that all of it takes, right? It's anti-human in a lot of ways. It's nihilistic in a lot of ways. I think that's indicative of the mindset of the writers. But there was a tone to television in the early 2010s. Now, I'm not talking about the Breaking Bads or of the world, right? Which are different. But if you were to turn on basic cable and watch a show, a lot of these shows had a glimmer of hope and humanity that you just don't seem to find because it's been replaced with snark and cynicism. I don't know when snark without charm became so popular, but it seems to be a writing crutch these days.
You can see that real time in any show that began in the early 2010s and ended in the late 2010s. You can see that shift happening in real time.
Well, it's fun because that's a lot of show. Like they're like, oh, for instance, the show Covert Affairs with Piper Perabo. That show started with a very hopeful, if not naive, look, I believe, at U.S. foreign policy through the eyes of a strong, independent woman that don't need no man. Now, I love that show. I do. And that's not exactly true to say that. She actually gets saved more than a few times. And because her job in that show starts out with her first day as like a field agent in the CIA, you see her fall and mess up a lot. But by the time, so the show starts, it's got a catchy poppy theme song and it feels very like it was made for 2010s women.
Well, that was at a time when girl bossery wasn't necessarily attached with hating men.
But by the time...
with contempt.
No, the show didn't go the hating men route. But by the time the show ended, it's dour, it's bleak. There's no opening credit song anymore. It's just done, title scene. And it lost all of the charm because the people who created the show decided to change. Burn Notice did the same thing, and Burn Notice is one of my favorite shows of all time. Theme song changed, and the credit song changed in season 5, and that literally speaks to
they were like they got around a table and they were like, how can we make these shows less cool?
Well, no, I think that was the end result. But I think what happened was they said, how do we raise the stakes on something, not realizing that we didn't want the stakes to be raised.
True.
The stakes were fine how they're. I don't need to see what Bruce Campbell does with a serious spy show in second main role. I don't need that. Jeffrey Donovan had great comedic timing. I don't need to see a little bit of comedy and a lot more serious. Know your audience, know your tone, and people will come back. But I think that 2000 through 2010, that was the last great decade.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with you on that. Let's go to Superchats. OrganizedBusinessServices.com said, I thought Congress passed daylight savings time. Now half the country has it. New Jersey did not pass it, but Jersey City did pass it. Now I can't even tell time in the USA.
Yeah, and it's funny too.
So New Jersey doesn't have daylight savings? Weird.
Also, I'm somebody who has I wear an old, I don't have it on right now, but I wear a digital watch that's not connected, not a smart watch, but just a digital watch. So I had to change it myself. My car, because my car.
I don't even know how to change my car.
In your car, you just half the year you assume you're late.
Yeah, I just don't look at it.
No.
Last of My Kind said, braver than the Marines. I'm sure every devil knows a debaucherous warfighter that was on a first name basis at medical because his desire not to wear PPE.
Protection.
Nomification said, good evening, Mr. Brett. You're never heard talking about shows like Office. What is this? B99?
Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Community or Scrubs. What gives?
Never cared. Never cared. I have watched some of Community. I have been told over and over again to watch Scrubs. I have not done either. The rest of them, it's like...
Have you watched Arrested Development?
Nope.
Maybe you'd like that one.
This is the type of thing where these shows became so popular, I lost interest. They became they're not popular anymore. So you can be a hipster. When so much pop culture and cultural references are being made around them, it destroyed my desire to watch them.
It's just GIFs at this point. He
they
also
just
asked,
never interested me.
Any 304 contenders from everything to compete on episode 500 yet? I have been searching in the local Walmarts and local gas stations, searching for some West Virginia 304s to join us on episode 500.
I mean, look, I think everyone should just create their own show. Anybody could do this by just creating a show based on women you meet at Walmart in the methadone clinic, and then just turn
It'll just be called Whoever. We're just gonna have whoever.
It's be called Ugh. I like the idea of a show just called Ugh, and it's just the worst of humanity. But at the same time, I make that joke, but I don't actually think you should exploit people in those settings.
No,
so maybe
obviously
wait for the
not.
ones with their OnlyFans pages.
Snuffy.
Oh wait,
35
Tacty Platty in the chat says he's a local 304, so we could always get Tacty Platty on to talk about his the people in his roster and his body count.
Yikes. Snuffy357 said, everybody go buy Alpha Core by Chuck Dixon, creator of Batman villain Bane from the Rippaverse.
I saw that launched today, right? I know that they were on Friday. I heard Eric July talking about the launch of that, so that should be interesting to see. Yes, we talk a lot about the importance or the theoretical discussion about like the mainstream Hollywood industry, mainstream comic book industry, and of course the importance of creating a parallel economy. So right now, one of the ways you can do that is to support creators who are making their own stuff. There's a lot of that going on in comics. Eric July is clearly one of the most successful in that realm. So go check it out. See what the numbers that AlphaCore does. I believe that's the first one from the Rippaverse that's not part of the main ISOM storyline. So.
Nothing against Chuck Dixon or anything, but do you remember that movie that he almost produced with Vox Day?
Yeah, I forgot what it was called.
Was it called like Rebel something or other?
Yes.
Red Rebel
or something like that.
Something like that.
I mean, our critique of that was just that it felt very like Fox News pitch, like without knowing what it looks like.
That
I can't
got
judge
memory
it.
hold real quick.
Yeah. So, all right, let's go. Let's move on. Let's talk about what's going on with Sabrina Carpenter.
Well, this was a story that we intended to cover on Friday, but obviously that show went super duper long, so we didn't get a chance to. But Sabrina Carpenter, former Disney child star and current pop star, has come under fire for filming part of her music video for the song Feather inside a Catholic church in Brooklyn. And the Catholic diocese there and the bishop there found out about it after the fact and realized this should have never been approved. And their bishop, Robert Brennan, has put out a statement saying he is appalled at what was filmed at Annunciation of the Blessed Virgin Mary Church in Brooklyn. The parish did not follow diocesan policy regarding the filming on church property, which includes a review of the scenes and script. Parish reports that the production company failed to accurately represent the video content. Bishop Brennan is taking this matter seriously and will be looking into it further.
I feel like he's got to get his own spin-off show, Bishop Brennan.
It is really gross that the production didn't inform them of what was going to be in the music video.
I wonder, are they passing the buck along here and maybe they just didn't interpret it First of all,
who is to blame here?
Yeah, I don't actually, like, Mary will perhaps have a different take on this. I didn't find it to be that... Like
it could have been so much worse. I agree.
Based on like how it was described to me, I was like expecting some wild off the wall shit.
Well, the rest of the music video that wasn't filmed inside the church was wild and off the wall, and essentially it's the power fantasy of a girl who is 5'1", thinking about how fun it would be to massacre adult men that catcall her and like take pictures of her in an elevator
with all of the awful snark,
there's
the
blood splatters,
the homicidal awful snark.
Yeah, she's like covered in blood. She's stepping over men's dead bodies.
I don't think we can play clips, but I'm gonna just put some screenshots here of her in the parish. Let me see if I can put it in.
Yeah.
So
she strangles a guy in the video, but none of that took place inside this part.
So this
in the
is
church.
So this is sacrilegious, but not demonic. Would you say?
I mean, is there really a distinction that needs to be drawn between those two things?
Yes, to me there, because I don't know what the difference. I assume that there's a difference between demonic and sacrilegious.
I think that from the perspective of a Catholic, this is obviously disrespectful to the place that she is in, with the tabernacle right there behind her.
That doesn't make it inherently demonic. It just means that you were disrespectful.
Okay, sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, okay. I mean, no, I'm actually asking. Like, is there?
I don't
is there
think
a
that the
fundamental
message
difference?
behind the song or behind the video was inherently demonic. But this fan of hers tweeted, "This 30-second clip is the only part of her in the church, and all she's doing is standing and walking in a poofy dress. There is nothing demonic happening at all." And I say that sounds like the words of a true pagan because
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're not Catholic, you wouldn't understand the importance of anything that goes
Yeah,
on inside of a
absolutely.
Catholic church.
Also,
So-
there's a strong a strong lack of understanding about respect for somebody else's space.
Yeah, I mean, do you think Sabrina Carpenter would have dared film a music video inside of a mosque?
Yep.
No, she would not. And we know the reason why she didn't film a music video inside a Protestant megachurch, because it looks like a shopping mall. She wanted the aesthetics, but she didn't want to respect where they came from. And that's what is scandalous about this. And
Theoretically,
yeah,
she
the
could have done the
diocese
same
should have
thing.
known what they were getting into, what they agreed to, but someone didn't do their due diligence, or the production company was lying, or both.
You could make the argument that like she could have filmed this same scene in a cemetery, which would be less.
I don't know if it would be less disrespectful, to be honest, because you're still literally dancing on people's
unconsecrated-
graves.
Yeah, unconsecrated ground, right? So yeah, it's I was reading through the comments on this just to get like, because me baseline, I'm not religious, so I don't take offense to it. What I take offense to is the idea that you get to tell somebody else what they're offended by when it comes to something like their faith, right? Because like you
Sure.
said, they wouldn't dare do this in a lot of other places, but here in America, the Catholic Church has become a bit of a punching bag for Hollywood in a lot of ways.
Which is
So-
weird considering the fact that this country doesn't have Catholic roots.
Yeah.
It has Puritan roots.
And a lot of the comments were agreeing with you, and that was like, I think I saw a couple that said, look, it's not demonic, but it's definitely disrespectful to the place that they're in. Because when people think of demonic, they think of some ritual with devil horns and dancing
Something Madonna
around.
would do.
Yes. Yeah.
Even Madonna's stage name is Sacrilegious.
Yeah. But
And-
that's her actual name.
Wait, really? Like legally, she
Yes.
changed it?
No, I think that's the name her parents gave her.
That's wild. I didn't know that. But Madonna has.
Oh, maybe she changed it to it.
Yeah,
Somebody else
I
gave
would assume she changed it. I don't think that's her real name. But back when Madonna was cool, making fun of the Catholic Church or adopting Catholic aesthetics in a sacrilegious way was still considered edgy, and that was new territory for art back then. So at least she got a pass. But now I don't understand what new ground you are traversing here. Like, this isn't new.
Also, I wonder if the church just allowed it because the church seems to be desperate for the approval of the mainstream these days, right?
And they're just like, oh, we didn't know.
I could buy both of those stories if the production company came to me and said, we gave them the outline, because what's the outline going to say? She danced a jig next to some coffins, right? What it looks like visually and what it looks like on paper are two different things. So it's possible the dude just doesn't really have a great visual acuity, and he didn't know what that means. So I would buy if they said, look, we went to the church, we gave them this idea, and the church, in need of good publicity and the desire to fit in with modern culture, approved it. But I could also buy
which is a misguided choice, obviously.
But I could also buy that they came up in the production company said, oh, she'll be this, and this, and they softened the language to what it was actually going to be on screen.
Yeah.
What I wonder is why the hell they can't just like create their own site. I mean, I know it would be difficult to do, but they could have built this in studio ground and done their own.
Yeah,
It would have I think aesthetically it would have made more sense for them to build like a gaudy Catholic Church facsimile on a set before going on location to do that. Because
I'm sure if I had to choose between the two, Sabrina Carpenter dresses in a poofy dress and dances around a fake church or a real church, I would choose the fake church any day. But either way, it's like, this artistic decision is uninteresting. It's not adventurous. It's not edgy. It's nothing that we haven't seen before for decades and decades before this. It's embarrassing that she made this choice in general.
I didn't look at that video and see a girl who knowingly was trying to disrespect the Catholic Church. I saw somebody that was making a video that on the whole was the type of snarky that's just annoying.
The real issue with the video is that she is glamorizing violence against men, which Megan Thee Stallion just did. This is what's popular now. This is pop culturally relevant to make a music video where you are strangling and stabbing men to death for catcalling you. Which has always been a humble brag, by the way. When women talk about getting catcalled and how horrific it is, they're just humble bragging about getting male attention, because there's no way to accept male attention in a graceful way in the age of Me Too.
Remember, gents, it's only a problem if you're ugly. So just go to the gym, get some plastic surgery. You'll be fine. Just don't be ugly when you're catcalling them. Then it's okay. I also find it interesting because I was looking back at I was watching old episodes of Daredevil, and there's a lot of scenes that take place because Matt Murdock is a practicing Catholic. Like there's a lot of scenes inside the church talking to his priest. And I always wonder, because there's plenty of people, puritanical people in the comment sections who would say this is disrespectful because he's because it's taking place and he's he's condoning his violent acts, and a lot of people who just have a problem with art and entertainment these days in general, from a generation's past, right? Where does the average practicing Catholic draw the line on what is shown as acceptable or not acceptable?
A practicing Catholic,
like if you're a practicing Catholic,
what is the question again?
And you're watching, no, I'm it's open ended. I'm saying, like, I wonder how practicing Catholics who take their faith very seriously, when constantly confronted by scenes that seem to make a mockery of the church, which does happen on a very regular basis, or at the very least oversimplifies the way they see the world.
I mean, speaking from personal experience, it makes you feel like you're not standing on solid ground when not only are figures in pop culture like Sabrina Carpenter disrespecting the sanctity of this place, but also it seems like your own priests often are.
In what way?
With illicit practices at Mass. I mean, we don't need to get into the weeds there because that's not what this show is about. But people within the Catholic Church seem to have even less respect for the sanctity of these sacred places than people outside of it.
Yeah.
And that is part of why this project got approved to film in a Catholic church in the first place, I would assume. It
does feel like there's a bit of a desperation to win back favor in the public sentiment, which is a fool's errand, if you ask me. It's never coming back to the mainstream population.
Unless you reassert what this actually is about.
Yeah.
This is a place of worship.
Yeah,
now, ironically, this happened at the same time that a clip of Girl Meets World, the Disney Channel show that Sabrina Carpenter was on, went viral for being religious propaganda. And we've talked about Girl Meets World before because they had another scene go viral that was anti-communist propaganda. So maybe this was just an outlier on Disney
Ben
Channel.
Savage is just based in God-pilled.
Wait, what position was Ben Savage?
Well, he's the star of the show. Like, he's
Is it not supposed to be the cast of kids starring in the show?
I mean, yeah, but he's probably. I imagine he's an executive producer on the show as well.
Well, he gets into a debate.
It's a vehicle for him because he was the star of Boy Meets World. Therefore, yeah. Here,
he gets into a debate with his student who is an atheist in this clip.
Also, I feel like there is a laugh track missing on this.
Definitely.
Can I ask you a very personal question? Are there any other kind? Do you pray all the time? Isn't that sort of amazing? Greedy. Greedy? How? Shouldn't you leave something for someone else? Huh.
Well, I think everyone gets hurt.
See, I just don't get how those things are possible. I mean, do you really believe he hears everything you say?
Do you like computers?
I do.
Can I find out everywhere you've been with just one click?
Yeah.
God can't do that? Morning, guys.
It's the awkward silence.
Yeah.
No, why won't everybody just believe everything I believe? They won't?
Definitely supposed to be a laugh track there.
How dare they? Farkle, I thought men of science were open to new discoveries.
Look, people, it's simple. Seeing is believing.
So you don't believe that Joan of Arc heard the voice of...
God? First, you'll have to prove God to me.
Okay.
Okay, I'm right, or okay, you're actually gonna
Take a
try
deep
to-
breath, Farkle. Now that air that you just breathed in, that air that's between you and me, what color is it?
It's clear, Mr. Matthews. That's why I can see you. I believe in you because I can see you.
That's your position.
Yes.
Roy G. Biv.
Uh-oh.
What?
We learned about Roy G. Biv in first grade.
Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. It's a rainbow.
You got a prism on you, Farkle?
No! Who would carry... Why would you think it... Yes.
Definitely supposed to be a laugh track.
Great.
You can literally hear
So,
their AC
Remind me what this does,
running.
please.
It slows down the speed of light and refracts it into the elemental spectrum of colors. Ooh, rainbow.
That's right. So, this air that's between you and me isn't really clear at all, is it? Even though we can't see that.
Okay, but I don't see how that...
What's outside that window, Farkle?
Flowers, the fire escape, the street...
He's
the
just
people on the street,
BTFOing
apartment
Farkle
buildings.
with
And what's in the
facts and
apartment?
logic right now.
I can't see that.
People, families, mothers, fathers, kids.
And beyond that.
The sky, the stars, the whole universe.
All of it. Every person, every child, everything out there. Everything we see and we don't see. All these shining elements of a force that bond us together. I like to think of that as a part of God refracted. Aspects of God that I can see. What's the secret of life, Riley?
People change people.
Just, you're right. Like, grown men should not BTFO children in theological debate. I'm just saying. But, yeah, and in the chat, they're like, worst acting ever. Yes, of course it is.
I mean, it's
But
Disney Channel.
It's Disney Channel.
And this
but it
is what
funny.
produces the pop stars of our day and age.
Just think, that girl went on to off a bunch of men in a music video.
And dance around in a Catholic church.
Exactly. So, in the chat, definitely not a Fed says, why are they bullying the clearly autistic kid?
I know, right? Like, that was another point of contention with Girl Meets World, is that character clearly is supposed to be autistic, and they constantly like make jabs at him for
I
it.
think that there's a storyline about it in the
There
show.
was, yeah. And it
s-
was really poorly done.
Gabby Hayes says, I'm gonna throw up. Farkle got bodied.
So bad.
Take that.
F you, Farkle.
See, this is why. No, and to this comment from Kevin Ortiz, this is why I hate that pop culture is divided. Because the best way to do this scene is if Ben Shapiro made a guest appearance on the show.
No, it's Ben Savage destroys Gen Z snowflake with facts and logic.
It would be better if Ben Shapiro just made an appearance. No, because Ben Shapiro's Jewish, so he wouldn't have.
Yeah, but he could still have a theological debate.
Like if Ben Shapiro showed up and was like, "Okay, imagine for a second that," and then he just starts.
That Roy G. Biv.
Yes, that's what we need right now. We could have used that debate on this show.
True.
That breaks my heart the way it broke my heart when Rudy Giuliani like pissed everyone off by going on The Masked Singer. Like can we
That
have
was so stupid.
Can we have nothing anymore as a culture, or does it just all have to be bad?
He was also in Borat.
Yeah, but they used it as a way to take swipes at him.
Oh, okay.
It's awful, but yeah. So
Also, Rowan Blanchard, the girl who's sitting next to Sabrina Carpenter in that scene, also became a raging feminist harpy when she grew up. So that's the character of people coming out of the Disney machine.
Oh, they're saying Ben
surprises
Savage
there.
is Jewish too. I didn't know that. Which one,
okay.
Chad, does anybody remember which one is running for office? Is it him or his brother? I thought Ben Savage was the one that was running for public office, but I could be wrong about that. One of them.
Running for what exactly?
I'd have to.
No, yeah, Ben Savage is running for Congress.
And whose seat is he looking to win? It should say there.
Let's see.
It's in some like recognizable district that he's running.
Ben Savage recently announced his run for Adam Schiff's seat in Congress.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yep, he's gonna save us. Make America.
His castmates aren't supporting his campaign.
Of course not. They were also saying that like
and this was back in April.
A bunch of the cast, like it became like a thing because like a lot of the other cast members do like this podcast about Boy Meets World with Danielle Fishel, who is obviously plays Topanga, every boy's first crush, next to Amy Jo Johnson as the Pink Power Ranger. But the point is, like, a lot of them come back to do this podcast, and he has not since come back to do the podcast. So they're like, is he too good for the other castmates? And people in the comments are like, maybe he just is sick of talking to you people because he had to talk to everybody for like 30 years. He's got his own shit to do.
Nostalgia memberberry podcasts about shows that were like marginally relevant on Disney Channel and Nickelodeon have a shelf life.
Yeah, they'll eventually be, because
how do you make a whole ass podcast about Wizards of Waverly Place?
It's interesting too,
and
because
Selena Gomez isn't on it.
I watch podcasts about the X-Files. I love to hear random people.
There's more material.
No,
there.
but what I'm saying is like I find random people's opinions of the X-Files really, really interesting. Whenever I hear like an interview with like the stars, I don't want to hear your jaded ass multi-million-dollar perspective on this show you did that you're probably sick of now. I want to hear from people that truly love it and see it as a fan, which is just not something that somebody who was on the show can do.
Sure.
Like they had Kumail Nanjiani had this great podcast called The X-Files Files, which was fantastic. And he would get
so random that he would do that.
Oh yeah, it was before he was as big as he was. He was not quite as big as he is now, but he was a lifelong X-Files fan. Then he got to be in season 10. They brought him on to the X-Files when it got brought back or whatever. But that was always interesting because he'd have on like famous Hollywood, like he'd have on Dan Harmon or these other famous Hollywood celebrities who also loved the X-Files because it was so culturally relevant. But I don't want to hear what Gillian Anderson or David Duchovny really have to say about, like, I would be interested to hear like a podcast from like disgruntled workers who worked like catering. That would be funny. Like somebody's like, look, David Duchovny was a dick, but Gillian Anderson was a sweetheart to me. But David Duchovny always said that I put too much relish on his hot. Like I want to hear that. That's interesting to me. The stars of its perspective, I don't really care about. So, all right, let's go to Super Chats, guys. We are close to a second crisis party. I'm just saying, I would like a second crisis party.
Austin Brown said, "Mary, wish you were on Simcast last night." Wow. Yeah, it was the 100th episode of Simcast. I don't know if I could compete.
Apparently,
it's a historic moment.
Apparently, Alex Stein did not ingratiate himself to Brandy Love, the porn star. I have not seen the clip, but I saw it earlier, but I didn't turn the audio on.
Ann Coulter was also on.
Yes, it's and Gavin McGinnis. It's an eclectic group of travelers on that one there.
OrganizedBusinessServices.com said, Russell Brand is so ugly. Let's see Tom Cruise be Me Too'd. Do you think Russell Brand is only being Me Too'd because he's ugly?
Yeah, okay. That's an interesting
He was
take.
definitely attractive to a lot of women back when he was in his prime.
I also find this to the Simpcast thing from earlier. It is so funny watching people like on the right talk about or people like in porn, because like there was this clip that I watched from this dude who has a podcast and he's talking to that chick that was on that show earlier and another one, and they're talking about like politicians they find attractive, and I'm like, what dystopian hellhole what level of hell have I found myself in where they're like talking about Trump versus DeSantis and which one is better looking, and I'm like, get me out of here, literally to any other part of the internet.
I would probably participate in a conversation like that, so I can't. I'm not above it.
No, but like it's just funny because none of the people involved. It wasn't like this was on a political show that they were having this discussion.
Yeah,
it was on a show that was like a dude who works in porn talking to other people who work in porn.
So weird.
And somehow, even because they were talking to her about the fact that she was shunned for supporting Donald Trump, and then they had the thing that happened at Turning Point with her. And,
her.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're talking about all this. And
the main pushback on that was she was at a conference for teens.
Yeah, it was a kids event, right? So not exactly the best place to be.
They'll have you at CPAC.
It's but it's just really funny because that is one of those things where I always think of like a lot of them as probably the definition of a lot of the libertarians, which is extremely socially liberal and extremely fiscally conservative because they want to make their money and keep it. So like you don't want the social policies changed, but you want as much in the way of fiscal policy that will allow you as an independent contractor who works for yourself to keep the money you make. It just proves that it's kind of pointless in a lot of ways to try to label people politically, be it left, right, center, political compass test. Like, human beings are too vast and too jumbled, I think, to boil their ideas about humanity and governance down to something as simple as like a 2-word label. It's stupid.
I'm simple. You can just put me right in the top right corner.
Just authoritarian right. Just at the. She's like, is there something farther than authoritarian
There's
right?
nothing complicated about it. Nothing nuanced about it.
But I'm saying that not everybody falls into that perspective. And it is possible that as you get older, that might change a little bit. You don't know.
No.
Well, speaking like it, we'll see. We'll see.
The only thing that's happened to me is I've become more authoritarian.
As you've gotten older. As you've gotten older.
Yes.
Like, for me...
But I haven't moved on the political compass since I was like 17 or 18 maybe.
Take that test regularly?
I've taken it a few times.
Just to double check. You're like, yes, still a fascist.
Just to purity test myself, you know? James Orenthal Wen said, I believe this means Polynesians. Would Def be unhappy for a non-Polynesian to rep us?
Say that again?
Like if Zendaya got the role of Moana, he's saying that Polynesians would be offended.
Yes. The thing is back in the day, it didn't matter as long as you looked close enough to the skin tone of the person.
She does.
She does.
If we're being real, yeah.
But nowadays, it's just not that simple. And the outrage is too quick. And it's too easy to for people to look stuff up on the internet and find something to get angry about.
Yeah. Shane H. Wilder said, agreed on cartoons being made live action. Every time I see one for the member berries, I'm always let down because the magic is lost by making it real.
Can you I'm sorry, I lost my place on this one. Okay, here it is.
About cartoons being made into live action.
Yeah, it absolutely does ruin it. You get none of the things that make animation what it is.
Right.
Which is like when I'm watching The Death in The Lion King, and he just looks like a dying lion rather than like the eyes going wide, and there's none of the reactions. When he looks
like a house cat instead of a person.
Yeah, it's
you
it
don't
doesn't work.
relate to him. Not That Jon Stewart said, The Rock did a live-action Hercules in 2014. I guess it didn't do well enough.
It did not do well at all. That one bombed. I never saw it, but that one bombed.
Okay, The Rock is low-key box office poison. When are we gonna reckon with this as a society?
I wonder if the idea is that maybe it's not that he's box office poison. It's that he's box office middling, but does great for when I see The Rock. He just looks like the type of guy where the average person sees him and says, I'd watch his movies at home. I'll watch it on pay VOD. I'll watch it on streaming.
It's a little bit of an insult if he were to hear it.
It's not meant to be. Who's he to go? Why would he care about?
He thinks he's such a star with Black Adam. He thought that was going to take the box office by storm.
He's making a ton of money, so why would he care?
Right. OrganizedBusinessServices.com said, I wish all these people that you guys talk about, college kids, go to poor countries overseas with no money. I bet they come back kissing the U.S. ground.
Wouldn't they, I do like
No, they would probably assume that those countries in other parts of the world are poor. Somehow the fault can be traced back to us. That's usually what they think.
What's the it's always Cuba, right? The reason Cuba is poor is because of sanctions by the U.S.
They'll always blame it on us.
It's always our fault, which is extremely narcissistic to think that everything is the fault of the country you happen to be from. Believe it or not, other countries can screw things up for themselves all on their own.
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be America and the military-industrial complex doing that to you.
They're perfectly competent at...
Guys, I want a second crisis party. We're getting there. We're like 3/4 of the way.
Shane H. Wilder said, it is sacrilegious as sin, no pun intended. Honestly, the whole video was bad. Using the church was just the icing on the ish cake. Also, Madonna is her real name. She was raised Catholic.
There you go.
So her Catholic parents named her Madonna. Interesting. Weird.
The other thing about the video is I thought more than anything it kind of falls into the song falls into the same problem as the Lil Tay song, which is that it's just predictable and boring.
Yeah, why is everyone acting like she's the next Taylor Swift?
It sounds like it was made by an algorithm, because it probably was made by an algorithm.
Awful. It's all to be... It needs to become a 12-second TikTok sound.
Even the aesthetic from the video felt very 2014 to me. 2015.
Right. Yeah.
With the color palette and everything, which just looked like Easter Bunny threw up all over the screen, and yeah.
There's nothing new under the sun.
Nope.
Shane H. Wilder said, Fred Savage can't run for office. He's a mole.
Who's the one who had the Me Too, or who had the Me Too allegations, or the
Fred Savage did get mean to.
Yeah, for like he cornered a girl in a hotel bathroom or something.
I don't know.
Like
I don't know the details, but I do remember that.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Hard to believe that they're like both brothers were successful for different shows. With Fred Savage with Wonder Years and Ben Savage.
I love Wonder Years.
Wow, Mary loves something. There you go. If people ask you, like, do you like anything? There's something you like.
I've said plenty of things that I like. I'm not good at remembering them on the spot.
I'm bad too.
Shane H. Wilder said, also enjoy the wholesome-based Mary, Phil, and Alex Jones meme, because Brett is going to get memed to Ish tomorrow and Wednesday. Sorry, buddy. Wait, where is this wholesome meme?
I can look.
Do you want to react to it?
Yeah. Well, there's another super chat here from High Voltage, but I will go look for it on X.
Okay. High Voltage 75 said, Mr. Brett, what did you think about the last season of Dexter? It had its faults, but I thought it was a much better send-off than the mostly bad last few seasons, which preceded it.
Do you mean, I would have to ask your question as to, first of all, Dexter is one of those shows, I've watched it through. I think it's one of the most beautifully shot shows for its time period. I think that Dexter does more with its cinematography than almost all shows do today. Like most shows from that era, it's kind of like how we have the guy who asks, like, Brett, if you're really a House fan, and then he asks me some question about season 7 or 8, and I'm just like, bro, I don't remember shit from season 7 or 8. Now, are you talking about the last season from the initial run, or are you talking about Dexter New Blood that takes place in like the wilderness in the winter?
I just sent you the link to the meme if you needed it.
Okay.
Eternal Sunshine of the Based Mind.
Here it is.
Okay.
If this song gets me copyrighted, Shane, I'm coming for you.
There's probably going to be a slew of people that
are
making comments about their favorite bass players or whatever. But again, these people that you're talking about, they don't just play bass.
I'm a pioneer. I'm an explorer. I'm a human. I'm animated. I'm alive. My heart's big. It's got hot blood going through it fast. I got a life force. This is a human. This is what we look like.
Perfect.
Bass.
Thoughts?
I love it. And it's so accurate.
That's exactly what you were thinking about right in that moment.
Yeah.
Right.
If you see me smiling to myself, it's probably because I'm thinking about Alex Jones.
It's because of Alex Jones. That makes perfect sense. Do your Alex Jones impression.
I'm a pioneer. I'm a human. And I'm coming.
Sound just like him.
Gabby Hayes said, this is my contribution to the second crisis party. Brett, do you like horror films? If so, I watched a French movie on Prime this weekend called High Tension. Super well written and acted. Hi, Mary.
No.
Hello.
Simple answer is no. It's not my genre. I love the slasher films of the 90s because it was the generation I grew up in. But on the whole, horror has never really been the genre for me. It's really funny because we were talking about how they were calling Five Nights at Freddy's like teen horror. I'm like, it wasn't really horror in any stretch of the imagination. I do have a lot of respect for well-made and produced horror, meaning that one of the things that I think a lot of movies these days miss, and that I was talking about, was, like, for instance, I reviewed the movie Reptile, and I said, like, it felt like the whole movie was just one long, bland roll of tension with no release. Horror films, when they're done right, know how to build suspense, drama, and fear, and then release it through either the violence on screen or the scares. Well done horror, I respect highly for its contributions to cinema and the way storytelling works. But on the whole, it's not the genre that I choose to watch first.
Five Nights at Freddy's really should have had more jump scare moments.
I'm so glad it didn't. I hate
But I mean, my point is the video game is
jump scares.
Jump scares, jump scares, jump scares on top of jump scares. Yep. So I was expecting a couple of hard-hitting jump scares in the movie, and it just didn't happen.
I mean, it's kind of the same thing that happened with the Murder in Venice or whatever, right?
The Murder in Venice, yes.
Was that what it was called?
A Haunting.
A Haunting.
Venice.
Same. Well, because Murder on the
Whatever.
Murder on the Orient Express was on Hulu this weekend.
Yeah.
Murder in Venice, same thing.
Ugh.
Point is, it was a bunch of non-scares.
Yes.
Tense walking. Dun,
Creeping.
dun, dun. Creeping, walking with no actual
Creeping
payoff.
music and no tension built. High Voltage 75 said New Blood.
It was fine. I thought they to be honest, I think they fumbled the ending the way they fumbled it in the first one. But I don't think that there was a need personally to go back. I think that they should have left the show alone. Taking it out of Florida, taking it out of Miami didn't sit right with me from the beginning. In a lot of ways, that show ended up feeling to me kind of the same type of cold and heartless as that movie The Mother from Jennifer Lopez felt to me. But I just don't like the idea. I get the appeal to some people of taking a character from one environment and putting him in another environment. For instance, I'll give you two examples. You know how they always make the joke where it's like Mexico in real life, Mexico in the movies, and it's got the sepia filter over it, right? Whenever in the show CSI Miami, whenever Horatio Caine, whenever they did a crossover with CSI New York, they'd show him and they'd just be just dark and gray. Like they would make it even grayer than normal when it would cut to a scene in New York to differentiate which one was as if we're that stupid that we don't know the difference, but it's an artistic choice. And they do that with a lot of shows like that. If they take you out of that warm environment, they have to make it look even bleaker than it normally is. And I really think that taking Dexter out of that environment ruined the show for me. So I didn't catch on to the sequel. Also, no Jennifer Carpenter.
Finding out that Psych was filmed in Canada instead of Santa Barbara.
And by the way, no living Jennifer Carpenter in the show. No Jennifer Carpenter.
Shane H. Wilder said, Brett, you will never get copyright on music. I purposely used public domain, especially after Warner Brothers copyrighted the ish out of me for a tin. Thank you.
Woo! Got it. I saw a tweet from Ian today that said, can somebody help me? It said like I humiliated myself to promote graphene and it was worth it or something.
Wait, what? Okay, now I need to see it.
It was something like that. You'd have to look it up. It was really interesting. It's like I humiliated myself to push graphene.
Yeah, it says I humiliated myself to make #graphene popular, and it was worth it. Find something you're willing to humiliate yourself over. Humility is key.
Mary, is there such a thing for you?
Go off, Ian. Twilight.
Fair point. Okay, then for me, it's the USA Network, right? I'm willing.
Okay.
I am willing to push the last bastion of American media that ruled, which was the USA Network in the early 2010s, is the last great bit of American media. Even if the rest of the world disagrees, hold the line, my friends. If you believe in something, really stick to it. Don't let the naysayers tell you otherwise, I say. All right, guys, before we go, I want to, was there another super chat there at the end there? I think, are we good? We are good. So. We are caught up, ladies and gentlemen. We got through that second crisis party, so thank you so much for that. Would you guys hit the like button on this video and subscribe to this channel? Make sure you do that. Mary, where can they find you?
You can send me validation on Instagram at Mary Archived. Please don't get into any religious debates in my comments. I'd appreciate that. If you want to get into religious debates in my comments, do that at my Twix account, also Mary Archived. See you there.
All right, guys, if you would like to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram and Twix at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. I also want to let you know that I will be live on a podcast called Forge and Anvil tonight on YouTube. I will post the link in my, I reposted it earlier. I'm going to be with, I've got the ad up here right now. They
Someone is even telling you in the chat
Yes.
to shout out your podcast.
Yes, it's Forge and Anvil. It's it says, is American pop culture dying? Find out tonight as we go live. It's going to be me, Christian Toto, Anastasia Hibbs. She's Steve Deese's daughter. So we're all going to talk about whether the American world of pop culture is in fact a dying industry, and I believe in a lot of ways.
I think I know the answer.
Exactly, I think I know the answer. So please go ahead and check that out tonight. It'll be live at 8 p.m. I will post the link on my Twitter to the page right before we go live. Also remember, PCC is live here 5 days a week, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. If you would like to listen to the audio version of this show, we're on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. We got a couple of super chats there at the end there. Mary, do you want to grab those? You got those?
Sir Renko Productions said Ian was equating humility and humiliation, not the same thing. LOL.
Or maybe Ian is just on a higher plane of consciousness
You
than
just
us,
don't get it.
and we don't get it.
Gabby Hayes said, how about when USA did the 3-hour premiere of Monday Night Raw in Dallas, saw Stone Cold live that night? USA used to do things right.
Yeah, and here they're going back to USA Network for SmackDown after their deal with Fox runs out next year. So that's some recent information. They talked to like Murdoch's son, and he basically said like they didn't make enough money to keep the deal alive. So they will be going back to the USA Network. I think a lot of people would tell you that's a bad thing because they were very upset when Raw went to 3 hours because nobody wants to watch 3 hours of WWE. Even the fans don't like the 3 hour format. They wish the 3 hour format. They wish it would go back to 2 hours. I have ended the poll, ladies and gentlemen. I asked you, is daylight savings time stupid? 76% of you say yes. It is in fact very stupid. So they don't like it. Thoughts?
I agree.
Yeah, there you go.
But I'm glad that I got an extra hour of sleep.
All right, guys. So 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, noon Pacific, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. Want to follow us on social media? We are on Twix at @popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok at Pop Culture Crisis, Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. Head on over to the Forge and Anvil YouTube channel if you want to check out the episode I'm on tonight, 8 p.m. Otherwise, we will be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see you then, guys.
Bye.
Bye.